In this video, I'm going to explain why your doctor dismissing your heart symptoms as just anxiety might actually be some of the most harmful advice you could receive. Hi, I'm Juliet from Salus, where I work as a breathwork and movement expert specializing in mind-body synchronization. And I need to share something that most doctors won't tell you. When they say that your heart is fine and it's just anxiety, they're making a critical mistake. They're treating your symptoms as static, as something that you can simply learn to manage. But what they're missing is that these symptoms actually are progressive stages of heart-brain dysregulation. And managing them only allows the underlying damage to silently worsen. So today, I'm going to walk you through the 3 stages of this condition so that you can identify exactly where you are, understand what's happening in your body, and most importantly, what's coming if left unchecked. Stage 1 is what we call the warning phase. This is where most people watching this video currently find themselves. And it's the most deceptive because symptoms seem manageable. So what you're experiencing physically, occasional palpitations that come and go, maybe situational blood pressure spikes, maybe during stress at work or when you're worried about your health, disrupted sleep patterns, lying awake, aware of your heartbeat, perhaps some tight chestness or that feeling that you can't take a deep breath. So what's happening mentally? You've developed a hyper awareness of your heart. You notice sensations that you never paid attention to before. You feel anxious in specific situations, especially those that might trigger symptoms. Started subtly restricting activities, maybe avoiding intense exercises or situations that previously felt comfortable. You find yourself checking your heart rate more often, perhaps obsessing over your Apple Watch data. But here's what's actually happening inside your body that your doctor can't see on the standard test. Your HPA axis, it's the system that controls your stress hormone production. It's becoming dysregulated. Think of it as like a thermostat that's starting to malfunction. Inflammatory markers in your blood are beginning to rise. So still within normal range, and this delicate balance between your sympathetic fight or flight symptoms and your parasympathetic rest and digest symptoms is becoming disrupted. And most importantly, your brain is beginning to create new neural pathways that associate normal body sensations with danger. The critical danger of stage 1 is that it's deceptive because symptoms seem manageable. People convince themselves it's not progressive. They think, I can handle these levels of symptoms. But underneath the surface, the dysregulation is strengthening its hold and it's beginning to spread beyond just heart symptoms. Every time you experience a symptom and your brain interprets it as dangerous, you're literally rewiring your nervous system to be more sensitive to these sensations. Stage 2 is the entrenchment phase, where the condition becomes firmly established and begins expanding into multiple body systems. This is where the just anxiety explanation becomes obviously inadequate. Physically, you'll notice. Palpitations become more frequent and intense, sometimes lasting longer. Blood pressure elevations become more sustained rather than just situational. Fatigue becomes constant despite getting what should be enough sleep. And this is where we start seeing the spread into other systems. You might develop digestive issues that seemingly come out of nowhere, IBS, acid reflux, or sudden food sensitivities. Many people develop what we call vestibular symptoms, unexplained dizziness, lightheadedness, or a feeling like you might be faint, especially when you stand up quickly. Some people notice temperature regulation problems, feeling unusually hot or cold, or experiencing night sweats. Mentally, there's been a significant shift. You've developed specific phobias around travel, driving long distances, or being far from medical care. Exercise has become frightening rather than energizing. You start withdrawing from social situations, making excuses to avoid activities. You're constantly monitoring your health data, blood pressure readings, heart rates, symptoms. There's an underlying fear that something serious is being missed. Physiologically, here's what's happening that's so concerning. Chronic inflammation pathways are now firmly established throughout your body. Your autonomic nervous system imbalance has become significant. Your fight or flight system is chronically overactive while your rest and digest system is suppressed. Cortisol regulation is severely disrupted. Your stress hormone production is either chronically elevated or it's become erratic. Critical mineral balances like magnesium and calcium are chronically disturbed, which explains many of the strange sensations people experience. The key danger in stage 2 is that your brain has now created strong, reinforced neural pathways supporting the cycle. Your quality of life has significantly diminished, but most concerning, the condition is now actively spreading to other bodily systems. So, what started as occasional heart palpitations has evolved into a multi system condition that affects digestion, sleep, energy, and cognitive function. Stage 3 is what we call the systemic impact phase, where the condition creates serious, potentially permanent changes throughout your body. This is where learning to live with it becomes truly dangerous. Physically, the symptoms become more complex. Heart rhythm disturbances become more varied and concerning. Hypertension becomes resistance to medication. Blood pressure medications that once worked becomes less effective. And most alarming, chronic inflammatory conditions begin emerging throughout your body. This sustained stress response creates the perfect inflammatory environment for serious health conditions. We see the silent buildup of arterial plaque, increased risk of autoimmune conditions, disorders like insulin resistance, and accelerated aging at the cellular level. The chronic inflammation and sustained stress response significantly increases your risk of heart disease, stroke, and other cardiovascular events. Mentally, there's been a fundamental identity shift. You now see yourself as a sick person rather than someone temporarily dealing with symptoms. Your career may face limitations due to your health concerns. Relationships become strained as family and friends struggle to understand your invisible condition. And there's often depression and hopelessness as traditional treatments continue to fail. Physiologically, the changes have become serious. Systemic inflammation is now affecting multiple organ systems. Permanent vascular changes have begun. Your blood pressure vessels are literally aging faster. Your immune system function becomes compromised, making you more susceptible to infections and other illnesses. Hormonal systems beyond just cortisol become disrupted. The grave danger in stage 3 is that you now face significantly increased risk of serious cardiovascular events. The condition that began as just anxiety or occasional palpitations has evolved into something that threatens not just your quality of life, but potentially your life itself. The grave danger in stage 3 is that you now face significantly increased risk of serious cardiovascular events. The condition that began as just anxiety or occasional palpitations has evolved into something that threatens not just your quality of life, but potentially your life itself. The chronic stress response has literally changed your physiology in ways that accelerate the disease process throughout your body. The reality check. Now, I want you to understand something important. Those calming words from your doctor that it's just anxiety or everything looks normal, they're meant to reassure you, but they've actually given you permission to accept a condition that's actively harming you. Every day that you manage these symptoms instead of addressing their root cause, you're allowing the underlying dysregulation to strengthen its hold on your body. and advance it to the next stage. Now, this isn't meant to frighten you. It's meant to empower you with the truth that medical systems often misses. That these symptoms are not just static. They are dynamic warning signs of a progressive condition that demands attention. The normal test results that your doctor showed you only measure structural problems within your heart. They don't measure the inflammation building in your blood vessels, the dysregulation of your stress response system, or the imbalance of your autonomic nervous system that are driving these symptoms. It's like having a car with perfect engine parts, but a completely malfunctioning computer system. The individual components look fine, but the car doesn't run properly. So here's the good news. Each stage is reversible with the right approach. Unlike medications that mask symptoms while the progression continues underneath, addressing the heart brain condition itself can interrupt this cycle and restore normal function. At Salus, we've helped over 300 people reverse this progression using our Calm Heart method. We've even seen people in stage 3 eliminate symptoms entirely with the right guidance and over enough time. The key is understanding that your symptoms aren't simply something to live with, that they're urgent signals demanding attention before progression occurs. Our, our approach works because we address the actual mechanisms driving the progression. We measure and correct the inflammatory markers that traditional doctors don't test. We restore autonomic nervous system balance through targeted interventions. The key is understanding that your symptoms aren't simply something to live with, that they're urgent signals demanding attention before progression occurs. Our approach works because we address the actual mechanisms driving the progression. We measure and correct the inflammatory markers that traditional doctors don't test. We restore autonomic nervous system balance through targeted interventions. We rewire the neural pathways that have been reinforcing the cycle. We address the nutritional and lifestyle factors that support or undermine heart brain communication. But this requires a fundamentally different approach than managing symptoms. It requires treating the root cause.